agents waste way too much of their time.
Yeah.
Way too much. Like, I'll give you an example. If I call you for whatever lead and I do my initial thing, if I'm not feeling it and you're giving me like too much objection, I'll hang up on you.
Right.
Like, I got other people. Like, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Yeah.
Like, I have agents on my team who I can give the lead to and they can go door knock you and play the objection game. I'm not.
All right, welcome to the next level. Got my man Steve Giordano with us. How we doing, bro?
Doing well. Yourself?
Awesome, dude. Looking good, bro. I like that shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm dressed to impress. We're going to talk about today is lead flow and specifically what you're doing for leads. So, you've been number one producer 5 times in a row now, right? You've seen the evolution of the industry, the company. Like when you started, we were predominantly mortgage and final expense,
Yeah.
right? And you sold shit ton of mortgage and final. I think you said year before last, you started transitioning to more IULs, and now you're about 50-50, right?
Yeah.
And it's a different ballgame, right? You also are now more virtual than you were. You're always an in-the-home guy. And one of the things that you've done has been consistent throughout, and I'd imagine you'd probably attribute that to lead flow, right? What have you changed lead flow-wise to make that transition and not take a down year, if you will?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's an evolution every year of what we do. And like you said, it's changed dramatically. This past year, the IUL leads have been huge. And what I've done, because I do a lot of social media, is making my own informative videos, right? And being very consistent and putting a lot of those out. And then utilizing a lead vendor that basically will take my videos. They'll kind of manage your meta, right?
Yep.
And then you'll control to them what your ad spend is. And that's the thing. Like, you just got to play that game with, okay, like maybe I want to do 150 a day. Maybe I want to do 200. Maybe I want to do 300, whatever. And then what's cool about when you do your own videos, and I would encourage anybody, and I get it, not everybody wants to be in front of the camera.
Sure.
What's cool is they're then seeing you,
right?
And then they booked with you through, I have it connected to a calendar, and there's like an AI component, right? They fill out the lead, they go through it, they book on my calendar. Now they see you, they know you, you get on the phone, so you have instant credibility.
Right.
And what's also cool is I'll get a lot of people that follow me from the ad, and I'll get notifications on Instagram. Hey, John Smith followed you from the ad. Doesn't necessarily mean that he booked an appointment yet.
Right.
But now he can go back and he can see the 15 videos I did on IULs.
Yeah.
And maybe one day he's going to scroll and then he's going to book on my calendar. So it became like this whole, like, you got to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
In addition to doing some of the in-home. But the reality is the mortgage game dried up a little bit.
Sure.
And I think at the time, to stay consistent, I was like, all right, like if I don't do something, I'm not going to be able to write what I wrote.
Right.
This is no way.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So I think you got to be willing to be like, all right, let me change a little bit. Let me tweak some things. I don't got to like completely reinvent the wheel. And that's kind of what I did. And it really has broadened things for me. And I feel like you can actually write more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, crazy. You're on pace to write more.
Yeah.
And like we talked about on your True Talk, work, wise, you're doing about the same, right? Yeah. I mean, yes, you're home now, you're on the phone more.
Yeah.
But it's not like you didn't double your schedule, your hours work to have this uptick. But at the pace you're on now, you'll do about $300,000 more than you did last year.
Yeah.
With the same amount of effort, pretty much. IUL premiums are obviously higher.
Yep.
You probably got tired of hearing everyone scream about IULs for the past year. I think you wrote some, but dude, everyone's IUL. Virtual telesales, and you were still in the home. But it's a big adjustment, especially selling at the level you're selling, because it's a whole different setup.
Yeah.
Going from in-home to remote, going from predominantly mortgage and some final to IULs, it's not as drastic, but you think about like Netflix when you're old enough to remember the old Netflix, right?
Mailing in your
DVDs, bro. Yeah, my DVDs are here, It was so cool. Oh shit, they showed up. But when they were at their peak, dude, they were killing it. And they decided to literally cannibalize their own company.
Yeah.
Right? Shut down I'm sure they still do some, nothing like they did. They moved all their efforts to streaming. Everybody thought they were crazy. And look at them now. You got NFL on there. You got WWE on there, plus the movies. They're opening up another like movie studio to make their own films and shows. but they had to be smart enough to know that, dude, this is what we're doing is great, but that's not going to last for the future.
Correct.
And it's kind of like here, we've been saying that about mortgage leads forever. Direct mail.
Yeah.
Dude, the younger the people are, the less they go to the mailbox. Everything's electronic, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost weird. Sometimes here I'm like, dude, why are you handing me paper?
Yeah.
Just
right.
email. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, I pull it up on my tablet. Don't hand me no damn paper.
Yep.
But that's where we're heading to. So do you keep fighting this? I mean, dude, what's the most expensive mortgage lead you ever paid for?
Oh God, maybe a little over 100
$100
probably.
bucks?
Yeah, $100.
Yeah. So it's like, when does that get to the point where
the
where it
return.
don't make sense anymore?
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting because what I actually did on my mortgage leads to that point, I added probably 2 years ago where they can call into me, right? And then I added a QR code.
Yeah.
So they can scan it and you can get that digitally. So now you're getting it 3 ways. So that kind of helped a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. What percentage of the responses do you think were coming through either the QR code or calling you versus sending the mailer in?
Probably in like 50% ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely
It's a lot, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, you're definitely getting a lot less.
People that you would
mails.
not have been able to speak to
Right.
if you didn't have that on there.
Correct.
Right. Some people still are going to send them in, but it's not going to be like it was.
Yeah.
I mean, even when we started FFL, the return rate was about 1%, 1.5% if you're lucky.
yeah.
God knows what it is now if they're charging $100 a lead. So it's like, what do you do? Keep, and we've had people that I just keep getting my mortgage leads, Mike. Like, all right, dude, you're gonna be out of business soon.
Correct.
It's like when we adjusted the bonus program. Well, if we kept paying what we were paying, we wouldn't be sitting here right now because it was too much.
Yep.
I mean, y'all loved it, but but we need to be in business. But making that change, it's a drastic change. But now your sales are what, 50% IUL?
Yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through this whole process. You got these videos.
Yeah.
You're recording them, educational IUL stuff. You're putting them out. You got a company. Can we say a company?
Yeah. Clever Closers.
Clever Closers. Yeah. You give them your content.
Mm-hmm.
They schedule. They put it out. They're managing your meta ads, so Facebook ads, whatever. You're coming up with the lead spend, whatever it is. And then how are you getting in touch with these clients? Like, what do they do once they get the video?
Yeah, so they will fill out like an ad, or fill out a lead form, and then I have like an AI. So they'll go in from that into the AI. In the AI, like a messaging system. Okay. I have it set up where, you did the lead. Here's the text that you're going to get. It has like my business card with a picture on it, my calendar. Hey, we know you had an interest in the IUL. Book on Steve's calendar for 15-minute consultation. Mm-hmm. Let's say they do it. Cool. That goes in my Calendly, goes on my Apple Calendar. And let's say they don't. The next day, they're going to get like I have like a string of messages. They're going to get a second one. Yeah. Hey, we noticed you didn't book on the calendar, blah, blah, blah. To the point where they're either going to book something or they're going to say, stop messaging me.
Right.
And then
either one's fine.
And then you wake up and you got 16, 17 people booked on your calendar. Yeah. You're probably going to talk to half of them, right? Yep. You're going to have some reschedule. So like when I sit down now to dial on a Monday, Thursday, I still run, let's call it 10 to 15 in-home a week, give or take.
Okay.
I sit down. I know I have these appointments that I'm calling. If they no-show or whatever, I go back through the list of all the people that got messaged and didn't respond.
Yeah.
I call them manually from my main number. If they don't respond, I have a manual text. It's in my notes on my phone.
Yeah.
I cut and paste it. So now they get it again.
Got it.
Where they can book it.
Yeah.
And then in between, I'm booking in-homes.
Right.
So it's just like this constant on the phone.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the day goes by. You talk to 6 people. You sold 3. You wrote $7,000. You booked 4 appointments for tomorrow in home.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
Like, not complicated.
No, I mean, any agent with us can do this.
100%. You just got to do it.
Just got to do it. Who's doing is this what's it called Closer?
Clever Closers.
Clever Closers. They're doing the drip. They're doing all that stuff, or you're setting.
They're doing the managing the ads on Meta.
Okay.
And they'll also, it's good. They'll give me like a script of like what they think will perform well in an IUL, and then I just make the video, whatever. And then
so they're even helping you out with the content.
Yeah. 100%.
And any agent can call them up. And
use them. Yep. And if you're on my team, I have people on my team that can use my videos too. Which is cool.
Yeah.
So then the AI deal, it's basically like a chatbot.
Chatbot, yeah.
And you can have it where it's it'll be an AI interaction where they're actually trained on IULs to answer questions.
Oh,
sometimes I have it on, sometimes I don't, because you know how the AI is. Sometimes it's not there yet.
Right.
But you just basically set up the drip of what you want them to get every day.
Okay.
So, like, let's say it's day 4. You know, hey, Bob, we saw you were interested in this. You know, are you still interested or not? Because we'll take you off the list or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it'll say, like, hey, are you interested for you and a family member? So it's just like this constant, like, you're just dripping on people.
Which is what you don't get with direct mail, right? Like, I sent you a mailer. You either open it or not, right? A lot of people don't even open the shit.
Right. And it's sitting there.
Then you fill it out. You may not even put it back in the envelope. Like, there's so many steps to take, and we're not, like, calling you going, hey, you didn't fill it out or dripping on it. But through the internet, through technology, you can drip on these people almost until they book an appointment or, like you said, leave me alone. So they're booking the appointments themselves, number one. You're dripping on them, so the ones that don't book initially can come back to book. You also have a list of people that you're calling, right? So there's like 3 or 4 different ways for them to even get on your schedule.
Correct. And that's the thing that I think people always forget. At the end of the day, there's going to be, quote unquote, a hard work behind this.
Yeah.
And I like to tell people, like, selling insurance is not hard. Like, I love the agents that says, well, if I get in front of people, I can sell like nobody's business. That's awesome. But if you suck at getting in front of people, like, so I always tell people, I'm like, I focus on contact.
Yep.
I want to get in contact with you one way or another. If I get in contact with you, then yes, I can get you on my calendar and then I can sell you. But I work really, really hard and always have on the contact side of things.
Yeah.
And this, obviously, the technology is going to help you a little bit in this case. And what's also cool is when you're now running this stuff through your Meta, people will connect and follow you on Instagram. You'll get notifications. You know, John Smith followed me from my ad, and then they start seeing all the content you're doing.
Right.
So maybe they weren't ready then.
Yeah.
But in 3 months when they see one of my videos, oh, yeah, let me message that guy.
Right.
And if I see that they did, I connect with them. I'll send them a personal message, whatever. It's just this, you got to be constantly putting out to connect with people.
Yep. And on your Instagram or all your socials, what are you putting out for content? Just IUL stuff? Anything else?
I do everything. I mean, I like to be, like, obviously a lot of recruitment stuff.
Yep.
I think you do a lot of lifestyle stuff. I think you need to be transparent and talk about what you like, what you do.
Yeah. Any personal stuff, or is it just
I do tons of personal stuff.
Family
like,
stuff.
Family stuff, like sports stuff. Like, I've always kind of been, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, like, I'm going to be me. I had this dude a couple months ago, you know, he books through the ad. He gets on the call with me and he starts talking to me about, like, the Dolphins. He's like, man, I see you do a Dolphin podcast. He's like, you do that and you do insurance. He's like, that's really, really cool. Like, can you get me the IUL now? I'm like, yeah, man. Like, I'm glad you like my stuff. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get people that don't like you. That's the way it works.
Sure.
It's the name of the game.
Yep.
But you just got to put it out there. Like, build a brand.
Right.
And then people are going to be attracted to it, you know? And if they're not, like, they're not the people for you.
Right. Forget about ad spend. So if I'm brand new and I'm hearing this, I'm like, dude, I don't have a lot of money yet. I'm trying to, like, what is this going to cost me to set up and run? Not the ad spend, everything else.
The management fee using this particular company is like $1,000 a month.
Okay.
So it's not like
a couple policies, you know?
Yeah, it's
one
not
maybe.
astronomical, yeah. And the reality is, too, like, you can, if you get into this and you don't have a lot of money, start doing some content and putting some stuff out.
Correct.
Like,
you can manage it by yourself.
Yeah, you totally can. Like, get people, just, you got to be passionate about what you're doing, and you got to put it out into the universe. Yeah. That's literally what all these people are doing on social media that are entrepreneurs and they're building brands. They're passionate about it. They put it out there, and they put it out there on the regular.
Yeah. On a weekly basis, how many appointments are you getting by just people scheduling themselves, not the ones you're calling?
Probably. That's a good question. Probably 35-ish, maybe.
What's your ad spend?
I think I have it at 200 a day.
200 a day, 35 automatically booked, and then through the other, you know, whatever rest of the process.
Yeah, like
you
ones that I call or whatever.
How many you add into that?
Probably another 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Okay, so 45 or so appointments just doing this.
Right.
Is that the only leads you're getting right now?
So that's that, and then I still have some of my mortgage mailers.
Okay.
I had cut back, like I took one vendor out.
Yeah.
So I think I have like 2 mortgage mailers. They're not crazy high. And like I said, I added the QR code. I added the phone number to call me.
Yeah.
So then that's garnering me, whatever, call it 10 to 15 in-homes a week, give or take.
So what do you run, 50 appointments? Like, what's your appointment goal for the week right now?
You know, it's funny. I honestly never count the virtual ones. I really don't.
Yeah.
I only, in my notes, I always count for the week what I ran in-home. But I mean, I guess if we're looking at it that way, it's got to be like 45, 50, probably. Something like that.
How do you choose which ones you're running in-home?
Well, the mortgage ones I call, those I always book.
You always run at home.
Yeah. Unless I shouldn't say that. The other day I actually had one that was virtual.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why it was funny. Saturday I had one in-home appointment and I had like 9 virtual. And I'm like, all right. And the guy was like an hour and a half from me. I'm like, am I going to drive this dude for an hour and a half for me? So I called him at the time. I go, hey man, we're just going to do this over the phone. And he's like, oh, cool. And I sold him $150 a month.
Right.
Whatever. So, like, for the most part, I'm going to run those in-home, but you got to weigh out the options. Was I going to drive 3 hours?
Correct.
When I got 9 appointments, I can sit in my office. Even if I sell them, it's not worth it.
No.
So every day is different. You got to weigh out the options, you know?
Yeah. But this is every week.
Yeah.
And that's the key, right?
100%.
Because there's people that, well, I did that, Mike, for 2 weeks. You did it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 1.
Right.
But it's every single week.
Correct. And you're going to have some days where you have a ton of no-shows that are virtual.
Yeah.
Like, I know the drill.
Like what's been one, I mean, we always talk about the good. What's been one of your worst days lately, especially?
I mean, I think yesterday I had, 10 or 11. Now I flew here. I think I had 10 or 11 booked. I think I sold 1 and I had, 3 reschedules and 6 didn't show up, something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It happens.
But I still sold 1. And then this morning somebody called me that no-showed me Saturday and I sold them.
Yeah.
You got to play the game.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to look at the whole picture.
The numbers are going to be the numbers. Like you're a Yankees guy. I remember, Derek Jeter's probably one of my favorite baseball players I've ever watched play.
Yeah.
He hit 300. Probably, I'm not a stat, but I would assume every year in his career. I think his lifetime batting average was a little over 300, right? He's been in slumps. I remember as a kid, I used to watch a shit ton of baseball. And there'd be times that he's 0 for 20, right? He hasn't got hit in the last whatever. Yeah. But every single year, where did he end up? Right at 300.
That's right. He got booed at a certain point.
Yeah.
Because he was in one of those.
Derek Jeter.
He was. Find me the baseball player that wasn't in like an 0 for 50 at some point. Like, it's just how it goes.
And it's like the same thing. I think the misconception when a lot of people, when they see what you do, it's like, he's just like amazing. He always closes everyone and everything's perfect.
That'd be nice.
Go do this. It'd be nice.
I'd write $7 million.
Exactly. Yeah, you would. But you go through the same shit. You just don't live in those moments. Like, you're sitting, like, I would never be able to tell that you had a 1 for 10 day yesterday.
Yeah.
Most people you can tell before they even open their mouth.
Right.
You can tell when you call them on the phone. Hey, what's up? Hey, how's it going? Like, dude, what, you okay? Somebody died? No, it's been real rough, Mike. Like, what do you mean real rough? Like, I just had a really bad day in the field. Oh, okay. The way you're talking sounds like, you lost everything. Your bank. You did you have a bad day before that? No. You're still alive, breathing, your health's fine. You have money, you can buy more leads, right? But it's not living in that moment.
That's right. And it's funny. So you go, whatever, I was 1 for whatever it was. I had written 18 from Friday and Saturday. Right. And what's funny is one of them, I door knocked a lady in between 3 virtual appointments, in between an in-home, door knocked her, booked her for the next day, went out, sold her, and then went to an old client's house who I knew needed a policy for her husband. Yeah. Wasn't home. She called me. I wrote him $600 a month. Yeah. For a lady I wrote a policy on 3 years ago. So I tell people, I'm like, just work.
Yeah, just work.
We don't worry about 1 for this or 1 for that. Like, get in front of people. Yep.
Everybody's looking for another answer. I was on the guy earlier. He's like, what do you think I should do for my business? I need to get better at recruiting. So he goes through everything he's doing. He's giving me all the right answers, right? He's like, well, I said, how many people you talk to a day, recruiting-wise? Like 2 to 4. I said, well, that's your problem right there. Yeah. Well, I know I'm selling. I know you're selling. You asked me to let you know what you need to change. If you're only talking to 2 to 4 people a day, that means you're probably recruiting 2 to 4 people a week, right? Because you're not going to take most of them. You need to talk to 20 people a day. Yeah. It's a lot of time. I know. But you sacrifice them if you really want to grow the business. There's no secret code, some trick to how can I do more in less amount of time. Dude, it takes work. Absolutely. And, we used to, back in the day, it's like every training someone had this question. What's the best book for my self-image? Because a lot of sales is having a good self-image, right? And Sean's answer was always, the book is this, work. You know when you feel good about yourself? When you go out and put in a full day of work all week long. Work whatever it is, 50, 60, 100 hours a week. But it's getting back to that. Yep. What is your schedule like right now?
Crazy.
Like, walk me through. Well, I know, but like, so people listen that they think, Steve just has it easy. He's got the best leads. He's so good at sales. That's why.
Yeah.
Give me your week. Run me through your week.
Monday morning, up early, 5 in the gym. So I'm pretty much in the gym. Like, I go like 7 days a week. Actually. Yeah. It's just like a thing at this point. Like,
right.
And I know it's probably not good for you. You kind of beat yourself up a little bit.
Yeah, they say you should take one day off, but whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. So, Monday morning in the gym, and then typically by 8 to 8:30, I'm already have had a few appointments like kind of booked on for the day. Go in my office. I'm running the appointments I have. Like this past Monday, I think I had 12 appointments on the books. And then I'm basically pretty much going up until 6 on a Monday, give or take. Then I'll go take the boys for a walk, grill, make dinner, maybe do a couple little things at night, relax. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be in the field and have a lot of virtual appointments booked. Okay. So it just depends. I might have some days 4, 3, 5, like it's a lot less now. Yeah. But I have all these in between. And what I also do is when I leave to go in the field, I'll print out a list of the IUL leads that didn't book.
Okay.
That have, again, they've gotten the text and the whole deal. Yeah. I put it on a clipboard while I'm driving. I'm calling through these. And then if they don't answer, the manual text that I have, which is the same text that they're getting through the virtual, but now they're getting it from me.
Got it.
So I'm doing that. And I have this whole spreadsheet that I printed. Yeah. I'm running my appointments, whatever. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday, and again in the gym. And then Thursday's pretty much the same as Monday, except I get a haircut at 4 o'clock every week. Yeah. And then gotta keep it short like
Got to, yeah.
Probably save money. You probably do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then home at night, grill with the boys. Saturdays now, I'm either running a few in home and virtual, up until probably 3 or 4. Yeah. And then Sundays do something with the kids, with the family. And that's pretty much it. It's just every moment of those days I'm working is pretty packed.
That's the key is maximizing your time. Yeah. Like you got, you're going to have no shows, right? And there's 2 things you can do. You can go sit and wait for your next appointment or get on the phone and dial, door knock. Like these were back in the day. We didn't have all this tech, but the top producers did things like that. Yeah. Hey, I had 10 appointments. See, my first 2 weren't there. So what'd you do? Oh, I just hung out in the parking lot for a while and just waited for my next appointment. Or I had my stack of leads with me. Mm-hmm. I looked at where I was. I called people, tried to go out there the same day. I went and door knocked, wrote appointments or wrote business that way. But it's maximizing your minutes. There's enough. People say, I don't have time for that. Like, you should go to the gym. I don't have time for it. No, you didn't make time for it.
Correct.
You're making time for all these little things.
That's it.
Very intentional. Mm-hmm. And it's probably you're so used to doing it now, it's become routine. But when you first started doing it, how did you become that intentional about each minute of the day, I guess?
It's interesting. If I had a superpower, it'd probably be like that type of organization. I've always had that. I think it's more like being very anal about things, right? Like I always want things, like I'm adaptable, but I'm more like I want it to be XXX, across the board, I've always been that way. So I think it translated well when I started doing this because I'm like, okay, I have a schedule. And then I also was always afraid of the pitfall of you're your own boss and you can take it for granted. Yeah. And I never wanted to live in that world because that will kill you. That kills most people.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, it's like, I had my first 2 appointments, they didn't show up. I went to Panera and then I went home. Right. I'm like, no, I can't got my car today. We're going to make something happen. Yeah. I'm finding somebody that wants insurance. I got all these leads. Yep. I got a car. I got a phone. I got other client. Like there's somebody that you can sell to. Right. That's always been a thing for me. Like just maximize the minutes.
Yeah. When you first transitioned into, more IULs, I know you sold them here and there. Did you struggle at all to sell at the same level that you were mortgage or close at the same level or no?
I think it's been about the same. I think what made mortgages, that transition kind of the same was like, okay, let's say I was selling you a healthy younger person, a CBO. Yeah. Because that was the thing. Yep. All I basically started doing was telling you, hey, this makes more sense and why, and then digging more into do they have retirement. Right. so it was kind of honestly the same in that regard.
Yeah.
Certainly the IUL leads themselves are a little different because they're like flat out looking for that.
Right.
But from a mortgage perspective, no.
No. What's been the biggest change you've had to make in your IUL appointments, right? Because it is a different sale, right? So for someone who's maybe they're not on IULs yet, they're still selling mortgage or final, kind of give them a snapshot of what to expect and what things you're going to have to adjust in your appointment to help people with IULs.
The number one mistake that I see that people make on them is like, we talk about them, but not everybody qualifies, right? So I'm big again in maximizing my minutes. I'm not going to sit here and have a 10-minute appointment with you and tell you how amazing and magical this thing is, and then you tell me that you have, cancer in the last 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like when people have now seen the video, I'm asking them, hey, what did you see there that, piqued your interest?
Yeah.
What do you have currently, retirement-wise, 401k? What do you have insurance-wise? What do you do for work? State you live, whatever. And then I literally qualify right there, ever anything major, heart, stroke, cancer, which I've done all along.
Yeah.
Same thing with terms or mortgage, to then understand if they'd qualify for it.
Yeah.
So that's like the number one thing for people. And then I'd say from there, now that we've got that out of the way, where I at least feel pretty good that you'd qualify, now I'm going to start comparing the IUL to if you have a 401, a TSP, an IRA, and I can basically like poke holes in it. And it's just like this comparison game. And then I also like to reallocate money, so I figure out the other insurances you have.
Yeah.
If you have none, great, you need it for this, that, and the other. If you have this, you have term, let's reallocate the money here. So I think for a new agent, you got to look at all of these things in like this big picture.
Yeah.
Like, this is not black and white. You got to make it three-dimensional.
Right.
If you make this stuff three-dimensional for clients, they're like, oh, wow, like I'm going to have this. It's going to do a lot for me.
Yeah.
This makes sense, as opposed to you making it like it does one thing.
Right.
Talk
to me about poking holes in these things, right? A lot of your clients have 401ks, right? I mean, most of our clients are 100%. Working class people, right? They have something. So when that comes up, is that usually, I don't want to say an objection, but like, dude, what you're explaining sounds like my 401k almost.
Right.
So because you can't just come in and like shit all over. It's the worst thing ever. Like, because then they get like offended and don't. Like I've tried back early on, tried that with policy. Your policy's so bad, then they're like, dude, get out. But how do you do that in a way that where you don't upset them that much, but educate them? And what are some things you're highlighting when you're poking holes in that?
Yeah, it's funny. That's something, if I say like I was good at, is I'm communicating in like a passive aggressive way. Like, all right, so Bob, you have a 401k. That's awesome. So you're going to pay tax on the end on all that money, right? So I'll say, all right, well, if you have $100,000 in the 401 versus if we had $100,000 in the IUL, you've already paid the taxes on the after-tax money in the IUL. So you actually have $100,000 there when you're 59.5. Over here, you don't. So like, it's like subtle things I do throughout where I'm not like bashing you over the head with it, but I am. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, what's good with the videos is they've seen it, so they kind of and they've heard about some stuff. People are educating themselves now. So I think you do some things like that in like the comparison game, and then that stuff starts to stack up, and they're like, all right, well, that makes sense.
Got it.
And I'll say to people, it doesn't mean to say like you need to not do your 401k anymore.
Right.
I'm like, I have three type of clients. Ones that, yes, they want to completely get out of their 401k and they want to do something different.
Yeah.
Or ones that want to maybe lower what they do in the 401 and put the difference in the IUL. Or ones that they want to just keep their 401k the way it is and they want to just start something different over here. Simple. You're one of three people.
Yeah.
Which one are you, Bob?
Right.
Yeah,
it's not that deep. Content-wise, what have you found, like, what have been some of your most successful videos for this to generate leads, and like what topics, what statements, what things do you think resonate more with the clients?
Tax-free growth, for sure. It's probably number one. And then I think the ability for people to leverage their money down the road to borrow for things and kind of become your own bank thing. Those are probably the two most popular. Because, look, people, they want to be able to be like, hey, like I can access money. Like people love hearing that, right? Like, oh, cool. Like I can put money into this and then I can access it for stuff. Yeah. Those are the biggest things. And then what I've also done with that is like given examples of, hey, I purchased a car and I had, the money in this IUL to purchase the car. And then what I did is I borrowed on my money to pay myself back as opposed to paying 9% to the bank.
Yeah.
So people like hearing some stuff like that of what they can do with it.
Because you own some IULs.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
For sure.
And that's huge, too, is like, how can I sit here and sell you something that I don't have,
for
right?
sure.
Like, it sounds basic, and you'll hear all kinds of excuses. Well, I don't have money yet, Steve. What are you going to do when your client says that?
Right.
You can't afford it. No, you just haven't found a way to afford it. We can, like you said, we can move some money around. You're probably spending money on something stupid.
Correct.
We all do at every level, right? So there's money, but if you don't believe in it enough to own one on yourself, how can you be on the phone with someone, sit across the table from someone, and believe that they should purchase that?
Absolutely.
You know, when did you buy your first IUL?
2015.
2015, before you even with us.
Yeah, from a guy, who was kind of the catalyst for me even getting into this.
Yeah. So you believed in it enough back then just by, and you were we talk about in your True Talk, you were working at a restaurant, he's selling someone else an IUL, and you're like, oh, shit, I want that.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. You talk about educating the client, which means you have to educate yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So if someone's brand new, how does someone who knows nothing about IULs, they join us, they want to start selling, where do they get this education?
Well, the number one thing I think you guys do a great job is you have that IUL training that they go through, right? So I think it's good to go through that. I usually will send new agents, like I have a list of the reels that I've done, just to kind of give you like a crash course, and then I kind of go through it. But I like when I talk to new agents about it to not make it crazy complicated.
Right.
You know what I mean? You need to be able to answer the questions, but it's not a complicated thing, right? The problem, again, and people do this in this business all the time, they try to make it like this magical, mythical thing that it's really not, and they're always looking for like this magic pill where it's not. So I try to keep it stupid simple, so then they can stupid simply communicate it to a client where it's not going over their head.
Yeah. What do you think the most important things an agent needs to know about an IUL before they can sell it? Like if I'm brand new, I go, hey, dude, give me a crash course. What do you know?
Number one, will you qualify from health perspective?
Right.
Literally this morning, I had an agent on my team who asked a question in our Slack, and I did like a voice recording for her. And she's asking a question like, hey, like this client had whatever, it was heart failure or something. And I'm putting them through the IULE. I'm like, well, yeah, that's not going to happen. So number one is health, right? So understanding, major stuff, heart, stroke, cancer, pain medications, like a lot of the stuff that are going to be knockouts, right? Again, so you don't waste your time in communicating it to the wrong person. What we do a lot on my team is, let's say they don't qualify. NLG has an annuity where you can do a monthly fit secure growth. So, hey, you had that and you want to put $1,000 away a month. Cool. We can do this.
A similar concept, but no upfront death benefit.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So it's like an option, right?
Yeah.
So the second thing would be communicating the tax-free growth, and then, putting that against the 401k, right? Or other retirements. Then the insurance aspect as well. You're going to have a death benefit. You're going to have a living benefit. Structuring it appropriately for a client, obviously minimum death benefit, maximum cash value, unless the person needs a little bit more death benefit for whatever reason. Maybe the mortgage would be an example.
Yeah.
So those things, and then the ability to borrow on your money after a couple years to use for whatever.
Right.
That's pretty much the bulk of it for a new agent that I want them to be able to communicate.
Right. And the best part is if you run into something you don't know the answer to, you just call somebody.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right? Like, hey, hold on, let me call my manager. Well, I'm in the appointment, Mike. They're gonna hold on and wait for you because you're in the appointment. Like, it's very normal.
Yeah.
What have you noticed from a persistency standpoint once you made this switch to half, IUL?
Definitely higher. It's a different sale. It's a different client. It's a bill versus an investment at the end of the day, right? Like your final expense policy is a bill.
Yeah.
But this is an investment. It has a longer term, ramification for you. And people, like, I tell people, I'm like, they're like, well, what does it cost? I'm like, well, you tell me what you want to put into it. Right. It's great. It's great you asked that because you're going to dictate that to me.
Yeah.
What do you want to put into it? And then I'm just going to figure out if you qualify for it and what's the right death benefit for you that's going to make sense to grow this thing.
Right. Do you need IUL leads to sell IULs?
No. Tell them everybody. Same thing with annuities.
Yeah. A little bit of a different sale, though, right? Like, if I'm a mortgage protection client, I guess let me know what mortgage clients would it make sense to? And then how do you make that transition? Because they filled out a lead thinking they're getting mortgage protection, right?
Yeah.
Then you walk out the house, you sell 2 IULs. Happens a lot.
Yeah.
But how do you go from mortgage to IUL, and how do you identify which clients it makes sense for when they're not IUL leads?
Yeah. 2 things. One, again, health. 2, age, right? If they're healthy enough and young enough, and I'm asking any question about...
What's the ideal age range for an IUL?
I mean, let's say, 1, like a baby to... I guess you could say 60. I mean, you can certainly make arguments older if they're healthy. If they're,
there's some outliers, but
if they're putting in a significant amount,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, so let's even say 0 to or 1 to 59.5 or 60. Right?
Okay,
with some outliers. Like
sure.
I said, in a mortgage appointment, what I'll say, I'll use this verbiage. What I do in your case, Bob, is instead of just writing you like this term that's going to run out in 30 years and not grow any money, let's put money into something that's going to grow. And then you're asking them about other retirements that they have. And let's say they love their 401k. Awesome. You have that. That's great. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to have this for the mortgage, because the number one thing is if you get sick tomorrow and you need to access money in that 401k, they're going to penalize you 10% and it's going to go against your earned income.
Right.
You certainly don't want that. And number 2, that money's not for an emergency. That money's for your retirement.
Correct.
The insurance here is going to be for the emergency. So I think certain things like that.
Yeah.
And what's cool with a mortgage appointment is like you're bringing so much more value to the table than they thought they were going to even get originally.
Yeah.
They're walking into this thing like, well, maybe I want to pay for this death benefit. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't care what happens, whatever. But now you just made it like this whole bigger picture thing. Yeah. And you sound smarter too when you're communicating it.
Absolutely. Do you typically show them the mortgage quote and stuff first, then compare it, or do you just decide, hey, this IUL makes sense, let me shift it?
Yeah, I just decide. I go that route.
So many options and confuse them.
Correct. Unless they're like, I don't want anything that has any cash growth, which is rare. Because it's like, why wouldn't you? Yeah. Now, if you don't, I'm like, all right, whatever. We'll do a term. We'll do a term and keep moving.
Absolutely. And you're doing IULs over the phone.
Yeah.
Not virtual.
Yeah.
Over the phone.
Yeah, I don't do Zooms.
No. And what's funny, I've said this a bunch here. I've had people sit in that chair for years early on. Now I think everyone's kind of come around, or most people, but they've told me only way you can sell IULs is in the house. Man, you can't do that over the phone. What are some – now you can, I would say, just like anything, there's different struggles with that. There's a learning curve, right? What is key to being able to sell IULs over the phone, not seeing the client, not walking them? Are you sending them anything like text message, illustrations, or –
I'll talk about the illustration.
Yeah.
And then once we've applied and gotten approved, then I'll email it. So it's kind of like that get them on hook type of deal. Now, I have people on my team. They're all about Zoom IULs. They sell a ton of them.
You're not saying don't do it.
God bless. Like, I think it's amazing. Visually, it's amazing. And again, all of this stuff with anything, it depends on the person you're sitting in front of.
Right.
Right? Everybody's going to, cater to something differently. Yeah. If I'm on a call with you and I feel like you need to visually see it for me to close you, whatever. I'm going to do what I got to do.
Right.
I'll send you whatever we got to send you.
Sure.
But I like to be more on the communicative side. And I think the way I do communicate it to people, it paints a good picture.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I got to say things a couple times.
Okay.
Maybe it would be even easier if I did some of them on Zoom. I don't know. Maybe. It seems to be working.
How long is your average IUL appointment, telesales?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah, quick. Yeah. I try to not make it overcomplicated.
So for someone who wants to sell over the phone, what are a few keys that they should know before they even start that?
I think when you're doing the appointment, you got to be kind of very rapid fire in questions and getting information.
Okay.
And keeping clients engaged, right?
Yeah.
The one I did before, I sold the guy in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was like, he calls me, I have a term, I have a whole life, I have no retirement, I run a business, and I'm literally just asking the questions of all of that stuff, like one after the other, after the other, after the other. I'm not like waiting around. He obviously had seen stuff. He knows a little bit about it. Mm-hmm. I'm then reiterating what he saw, right?
Yeah.
And I'm giving it a suggestion. And this is where, like, if you're an agent, it's something that you got to learn by doing.
Yeah.
It's psychoanalyzing the situation and figuring out how to put him in that better position So he tells me the information. I have a term, I have a whole, I have no retirement, I run a business. So immediately I'm like, cool, take this money here. You're healthy enough, you qualify here. We move it over. You don't spend any more money unless you tell me you want to put more into it.
Right.
And then he's like, well, can I put more down the road? Of course you can. He's like, well, what if I get a large sum of money? Cool, call me, we'll do an annuity. Like, if you get a small, you want to do a couple $100 a month more, we'll put it here. If you get 20 grand, we'll do an annuity. So I think, back to your question, with new agents, you got to teach them like the art of that quickness with the phone, because the minute you're stumbling, bumbling, or you're not like on point, you're dead.
Right.
Like, they're hanging up.
Are you doing any like rapport building in the beginning, and then are you setting the expectation? Like, hey, here's what we're gonna do today, mapping this out. Like, what happens early on in the phone call?
Good question. So what I like to do early, because I know that they saw stuff, is I'm like, I'm Steve, licensed broker in different states, and I do every type of insurance you can think of. You saw the video on the Universal Life. Tell me what your thoughts were and what you were looking to get out of it.
Okay, so you lead with that.
I lead with that.
Yeah.
So now they're
what do they typically say?
Some will say, I want tax-free growth. Some will give you the old, like, I don't even know why I'm on this call. Like, they'll give you that.
The usual,
The usual. But for the most part, it's like, I have a retirement. I know it's probably not the best. I've heard rumblings. I saw your video. I'm intrigued, blah, blah, blah.
Got it.
So they'll tell me that, and then I get right into I'll say to them this. So I'm here to see if you qualify, right? Because you always got to throw that out there.
Right.
See if you qualify for it. And our goal here is to see what's going to make sense for you financially and get it set up. So I'm dropping the bomb. Like,
right out the bat.
We're setting it up. Like, I'm not here to educate you.
But that's so huge. It's like we talked about earlier, people looking for, what's the secret? Some of y'all are avoiding that little piece because it seems little, but you're avoiding it because you're uncomfortable.
Yes.
Early on, it is uncomfortable for me. I've never met you before, even though you filled out a form and you did all this for me to go, hey, Steve, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about blah, 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 and we're going to fill out an application within the first few minutes. It's odd at first. It's very uncomfortable. But once you do it a few times, you realize, like, dude, that's almost like what they're expecting.
Yes.
These people are meeting with you because they're looking for someone else to help them solve a problem. If they had the solution, they would have never clicked on your form. You would never be on the phone with them.
100%.
They would have got the IUL by themselves.
Yep.
They couldn't do that. Eat those, you buy a policy yourself, right?
True.
So you don't have to meet with someone. So you think about that too when you're thinking about the clientele. These are people that are going, hey, I need some help with this.
Yeah.
And knowing that going into it's a lot easier to go, and then we're going to get something set up. I mean, do you ever have someone go, I'm not setting anything up today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay.
Like, I don't even know if they're going to qualify you.
Right.
Like, I'll throw things out like that because I want doubt. I want you to have doubt. Like, you can't just walk into the store and buy the IUL.
Correct.
Like, from a health perspective.
Sure. The worst thing you do there is, well, why don't you want to set it up today? Like, dude, just whatever.
Let it roll off your back.
Right.
It's a smokescreen.
Yeah. Like, does Steve Giordano get objections?
All day long.
Yeah. What are some of the most common ones you get? I know, but people probably, there's no way he gets the same ones I get.
Yeah. I mean, like, you'll get, like, I don't want to give you my social. I don't want to give you my banking. You have to, and again, you're going to get that.
Right.
I don't care who you are. You're going to get
Correct.
it. But if you set it up correctly and tell them why, when you're telling them, why you're telling them, the reason that we're doing it.
When do you bring up banking?
I bring it up early on. I usually like to ask this question. Before I even start the application, do you have a good active bank account? Yeah, I do. Perfect. I don't need it now, but I'm going to need it. And then I get into the next whatever.
Do you ever get any objections there?
Not a ton there. I mean, you might get them at the end again.
Sure.
Look, the person that don't want to give you the bank is not going to give you the bank.
Correct.
It's the reality of life. But if you soften it, and again, you also have to build trust and rapport.
Yeah.
I've had people say to me numerous times, they're like, I normally wouldn't do this, but like you sound like you know your stuff. We went through this whole process, like it makes sense.
Right.
And I'm just like putting them at ease the whole time. Like, this is what we're here to do. Like, I'm very matter of fact. Like, again, we're here to set this up for you. Right. This is how we set it up.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple.
And it's just the way you ask it too, like, or the way you brought it up. Do you have an active bank account? A good one. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to need that. Not right now, but later.
Right.
And then just move on.
Yeah.
If you treat it like a big deal, they treat it like a big deal.
100%.
And again, it's not to say that like they're not, maybe going to question you. As they should. You just called this person out the blue. Yeah, they saw the video, they saw all this, but they saw you online. They're not seeing you now. You're over the phone, and you're going, hey, we're going to set something up and need your banking information a little bit. And by the way, what's your social?
Right. Correct.
But if you do it that way, where you ask in an assumptive, like the way you ask, you expect them to give it to you.
Yes. If
I ask and don't expect you to give it to me, we're going to have some issues here.
And there's also throughout the process on the phone, like in rapport building. Like I've never been like, let me talk to you for 10 minutes to build rapport. That's not me. But throughout that process, as I'm filling out the application, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily tell them in the beginning where I live, right? Like I'm talking to you in Kentucky and I'm in Miami, right? In that process, as I'm asking you your height, weight, your this, your that. Oh, hey, so you've lived in Kentucky for this long? Yeah, I'm in Florida. Yeah, I've been down here like 10 years. Yeah, it's 80 degrees today. Like I'm having like this subtle conversation there, and then that's like you're connecting with me there.
Yeah.
And then I say things like, yeah, I live in Miami. I'm licensed in every state. Like when I ask for routing numbers, I go on Google. I say, what bank do you use? Oh, I use Bank of America. I go on Google and I'll say, did you open it in your state? And I go, Bank of America, Kentucky. And I go, all right, your routing number is 0221767. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Perfect. What's your account number?
Right.
Like, and because it's like one of those things, it's like you're then saying, I do this all day, every day.
Right.
I'm not weirdly asking you for it.
Correct.
I can find your routing number.
Yeah.
Like,
and dude, when you open up and you do 10 minutes of rapport before you move on, dude, it feels salesy.
Yes.
Like they know what you're doing.
Right.
You're just, trying to get you to like me a little bit. But you're going to be on the phone for a half hour with them at least if you're helping them, right? 45 minutes. You got plenty of time. There's plenty of times where applications load and it's doing a script, whatever the hell's going on.
Plenty of time for that.
Plenty of time.
That always happens.
And that's where you go back and forth. Why do I want to spend 10 minutes building rapport with you if I don't even know that you're going to buy something today?
Yeah, correct.
Just for you to tell me no, now I could have spent that time with somebody else.
Yes.
Right?
So you said a mouthful. Agents waste way too much of their time.
Yeah.
Way too much. Like, I'll give you an example. If I call you for whatever lead and I do my initial thing, if I'm not feeling it and you're giving me like too much objection, I'll hang up on you.
Right.
Like, I got other people. Like, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Yeah.
Like, I have agents on my team I can give the lead to and they can go door knock you and play the objection game. I'm not.
That's you talk about skills in sales. One of the biggest skills you can learn is when to walk away.
Yes.
It took me a long time to figure this out,
sure.
dude. I was the guy, if I closed you, it was a half hour. If I didn't, it was longer. Because I was stubborn. I didn't dude, I'm not you. You filled this out. Like, but I convinced myself so much through Sean screaming at me, like, dude, they filled it out. They want life insurance. So I'm sitting there. I'm mind boggled at why you're not buying. To the point where I'm going to sit here and argue with you for, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But once you learn when to walk away, it's funny. It's like when we have people quit, right? We had a few teams quit this past year. I was telling you before we got on, January was our biggest month ever. We had a couple good-sized groups leave. We do more volume.
Yeah.
When you cut out the cancer, you grow more.
Absolutely.
Right? When you walk away from clients that aren't looking to really buy insurance, you have more time for clients that are.
Yes.
So it seems counterproductive, right? Well, if I'm walking away from the sale, how am I going to sell more? Because you got more time to spend with the ones that are.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah. But you got to learn when to walk away, right? So what are some signs you're seeing where you go, you know what? This is not worth the time. This guy's not serious. Let me move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's almost like I'd say body language, but you're on the phone. It's verbal language.
Yep.
Like meaning like the way, if they're very, kind of laissez-faire about it and they're just not, they just don't really care.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you don't care, I don't care. Like,
right.
That's probably number one. And then, if they're really like fighting you tooth and nail and, or they're penny pinching everything, like you're not the person. Like
Correct.
You're not going to have $100 in your bank account when they draft it on Tuesday for this. So why am I going to sit here and beat you over the head with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a skill that, like you said earlier about something, the only way you're going to learn this is by doing it.
Yes.
One of my favorite trainings from Mark Mead or statements that he makes is that, dude, until you run 100 appointments, we don't have anything to talk about.
Yep.
Like and I'm not talking out of both sides. We talk about how getting on every training is important, all that great stuff. But if you've never ran an appointment, at some point, dude, take a break from the training and go meet with someone.
Yes.
You learn more after your first appointment than you will after watching 100 hours of video.
Yes.
Because unless you ran the appointment, you're listening to this training and you don't even really understand what they're saying. Once you run the appointment, you're like, oh, shit, that makes sense now.
Correct.
So you got to get out there.
Right. And it's like, it's funny in your schedule, like with training. Like we have a Monday builders call.
Yep.
We have a Thursday SRS, and we have a once a month annuity orientation. Yeah. Right. There's your training.
Right.
There you go. That's 3 things that maybe take 3 hours.
Correct.
You got another, 75 hours in your work week that you can go talk to people.
Absolutely. Absolutely, dude. But that is a huge skill to uncover, learn, whatever, is when to walk away to free you up to help more people.
No doubt.
And we'll kind of wrap with this, Steve. You've helped, got a lot of clients over the past, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
I know you've had death claims, right? And, you talked about in your True Talk, that conversation with Mark early on where you left an appointment, you didn't help, and then he brought up, he didn't say anything about like what you were doing in the home, but just how do you feel now that, basically how you feel you left this client unprotected.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of hit you, right? Is there, I'm sure there's a lot, but is there a death claim that you do? What you got?
It was last year.
Okay.
There was this guy I met, I want to say it was like 2020. And I got him, it was a good sized term. I think he was in his 50s. And he canceled it. And I called him up. I think originally we had replaced something he had, and we got him, America's was better, whatever.
Yeah.
Had living benefits. So he canceled it. And I called him up, and I was like livid. I'm like, why in the world did you cancel this? Like, why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. And we had a good conversation.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I talked about the living benefits, this, that, and the other. And he goes, you know what, Steve? You're right.
Yeah.
He goes, tell me what I got to do. I'll call.
What was his reason? Why did he say?
I think it was just, I think he was like, oh, I just don't need it.
Yeah.
And he had 2 young kids.
Okay.
Right? He was divorced. And I just went through it, and I'm like, and it was interesting. I was very calm. Like, initially, I was like annoyed.
Right.
And then I calmed it, which is like the number one lesson for my life ever is if you're calm, Steve, you're good. If you're not calm, it's not good. So I keep it calm with him. We have a good conversation. He goes, calls America, reinstates it. I get a call last year from his ex-wife that he passed away. And I was like, oh, man, like I remember. And and the first thing she said to me was, she goes, I don't know you, because, again, they were divorced. I didn't meet her. She goes, but you must be really good at sales, because I don't know how you got him to buy anything. And she goes, I'm really, really glad you did, because I think he got 100, 150 grand.
Yeah.
And he had 2 really young kids. And, I helped her get the death claim process. And I was like, wow, like that was crazy.
Right.
Like thinking, and he was in his 50s, like he was young.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't an old guy.
Right.
And I'm just saying, like, if I wouldn't have fought him there a little bit and pushed them,
right,
what would have happened to those kids?
Correct.
I was like, crazy.
And this was how long after you wrote the policy?
I think I wrote it in 2020, and he died. It was like 3.5 years, something.
And
like
when did he call you? Was it a year later or more?
Well, no, he canceled it in the free look period.
In the free look, okay.
Yeah,
got it. So you got to put back on.
I got to put, yeah.
And dude, it's huge, because how many people, when they get those free look cancellations, they don't even call them?
Oh, I blow people up.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I want to at least get something here,
right? Some
resolution.
Yeah.
Maybe you hated me, whatever the case might be. Maybe we can do something cheaper. And the reality is, if you do it every time, if you got 2 out of 10 back on the books, all right,
absolutely.
Win. Like,
and it's not about like, it's not from a monetary standpoint. Like you're making enough money.
Correct.
We talked about like, but it's the point of now this person doesn't have life insurance.
Correct. And that's how you got to look at it.
Yeah. Like this ain't true or false, but tell me if you disagree with this. You cannot sell life insurance if you don't care about people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You have to.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you have to believe in it, number one, but you also have to give a shit about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a transactional sale, you're not going to last long in this business. You've seen these guys come and go.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's one of the biggest transitions for people that have been, like, in car sales and things of that nature. It's car sales transactional. Dude, if I don't buy the car today, I drove to the car lot in a car.
Right.
Right? Like, unless I'm 16 into my first damn car.
And I'm going to pass 10 more on my way home I could buy from.
So if I don't buy the car from you, Steve, nothing in my life is going to change.
Yeah.
But if I don't buy that life insurance policy, this is something, too, that I learned early on is if I sit down with you and try to sell you a policy and you don't buy that policy, the odds that you're going to meet with somebody else are slim.
Yes.
Because especially when we were doing like mortgage stuff, dude, the mortgage is fresh. You just bought the house, you just refi, whatever it was. Or even the IUL, you just saw the video. You were at that emotional moment where you're like,
time.
That's time. So you don't help the client out. Are they ever going to go meet with someone else about the same thing? Probably not. So it's like, we got one shot. It's like, I'm not being dramatic. You have one shot. People are going to die. None of us get out of here alive, dude. But you got that one shot in front of that client to protect them, to make sure that in this situation, his ex-wife, over $100,000 passed on to 2 young kids, dude, that's life-changing.
Yeah. And it's funny you say it, because the emotion, we get so busy in doing this, and I'm the same way. I got all these people on my calendar. I'm talking to all these people. You sometimes lose track of the emotion of death.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to do the best I can. I'm not perfect at it because, again, you're so busy. It is like bringing it back to there.
Yeah.
And you have to get somber about it. You got to ask people about deaths they've had in their family, what it meant, what it did. If you don't poke that bear, you're going to miss out on a lot of sales.
Absolutely.
Because you're not getting into the nitty-gritty of what this is about.
Right.
This isn't like, hey, I pay $100 a month and it pays this.
Yeah.
It's more about, what does this do? And more importantly, if I take that away, what does it look like?
Correct.
You know, and you got to get people to tell you.
Yeah. And if you're not doing that, you got to really ask yourself, why? What part of it do you not believe in? Right? Well, I'm just uncomfortable talking about death. Well, you're in the wrong damn business.
Yes.
You don't sell cars if you're uncomfortable driving cars. Be weird. You don't sell life insurance if you don't want to talk about death. You have to. That's when this pays out. Well, there's living benefits, but the primary life insurance sales. I was talking to a guy years ago, but he was complaining about a bonus, this, that. He didn't sell, though. And I'm like, dude, you should just sell some life insurance. Oh, yeah, of course. That's the way, huh? I said, bro, we're in life insurance sales.
So it pays us.
It's not me making this up or Sean. We're in life insurance sales, dude. But you have to actually be willing to go there. And I think if you're not, you either don't care about people or don't believe in life insurance.
Sure.
So which one is it? And if it's one of those, you just shouldn't work here. If you're just uncomfortable, get out of your shell, dude. You have to. And because the reward, and I'm not talking about the reward, like how rewarding was that feeling? Obviously, you feel horrible that the guy passed.
Right.
You can't change that.
Right.
There's no policy we can sell that prevent you from dying. But how did that feel knowing that you've now changed these kids' lives?
It's funny. So I'm in a very busy day, right? And I got a lot of million things going on. And it's just one of those things, like, it kind of humbles you a little bit. And, like, you take a step back and you're like, wow, like, he's got teenage kids. You know, that's going to really change whether they can, whatever, stay in their house for however long or not.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
Yep.
And that's what we're trying to break. You're trying to break generational curses of money.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like,
'cause if you didn't get that policy back on the books, that divorced wife and kids, they're screwed.
Yeah.
Because the guy was working, right?
Yep.
So they lost out on half of the income that's supporting these kids. And now the ex-wife is with the kids 100% of the time, half the money.
Yep.
It's a big deal.
It's huge.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming up doing this and everything that you're doing, just leading from the front year in and year out. So I know I said this, that I hope someone else wins the belt, but
it's all good.
I mean, hey, you're on track, dude. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing what you're doing. It's definitely inspiring to everybody here. So we appreciate you. Guys, go to flconvention.com. Get registered for the next event. We'll be back in Irving, Texas next year. We still have some premier and VIP seats available. So we give out $500,000 in leads.
Wild.
It's crazy, dude.
Insane.
Crazy part is some people haven't cashed them in yet. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Could
you imagine me giving you $1,000 voucher right now and you sitting on it?
What happened?
No, you'd be cashing it. We'd be in Sasha's
I might
office.
go call those people and tell them to give it back to me.
Yeah, hey, that's a good idea. If you got a voucher from us and you haven't cashed it in yet, just send it to Steve.
That's it. I'm sending it right to my team. I don't even want it. It's going right to my team.
So appreciate you guys. Thanks for checking us out. Subscribe if you haven't already. You know where to find us every week right here on The Next Level. We'll see you next week.